Hey Facebook, it's been a while since I've done a live. I just did one on Instagram, so you can go watch it over there, but I know a lot of people that are on Facebook don't have Instagram, so I'm just going to repeat what I spoke about. Okay, so I've been super fired up because a couple of days ago, you guys may have seen, I posted a post to mothers saying that I had stopped breastfeeding and pumping and was trying to switch my son to formula after 7 months and didn't realize that he was having a bad reaction to it. He kept getting a chronic cold and a cough, and I finally put 2 and 2 together as a first-time mom and realized he needed to go back to nursing, but needed some people to help me get over the line until I can get my supply back up. And I was shocked and astonished at the response from mothers all over, honestly, the world. It was insane how much we got of mothers that just stepped to the plate and were like, I want to help, I can organize, I can get you milk from here, I can do this. Like, it was just such a reminder to me of the power of mothers. Like, I just sat amazed going, my goodness, when a mother or a woman, some people weren't even mothers, right? They just knew of a mother. When a woman knows that there is a child in need, there is something inside of us that comes up, and it is socio-biological, it's anatomical, it's physiological, that says we need to get together and fix this problem. And it's our mama bear complex. There is something inside of us that we will do anything to protect the young. And I was thinking about even the word mama bear. A lot of people don't know where that derives from, or why we say mama bear, like, oh, why do we choose the bear animal? And it is because, for those of you that don't know, the reason that hunters mark a lot of male bears to be killed is because a male bear, if they come across a female bear that is nursing her young, while she is nursing her young, she's not in heat. And a papa bear, a male bear, will kill all of the cubs to force the mama bear to go back into heat. So a mama bear will raise up when she sees them coming to kill the cubs, and she will fight the male bear to death. It is a fight to the death. You can find videos on YouTube of what that fight looks like, because her instinct is to defend her cubs no matter what. Even if she dies, and in the end that male is going to win, she is going to die before she allows him to get to her cubs. And so we have adopted that, and we now call that the mama bear instinct. And I thought about this amazing experience with mothers online all over the world on both sides of the political aisle, and was just thinking about this experience that I have been having as I speak all around the United States. I'm coming across parents, and I'm hearing the same concerns over and over again. It has shifted. The area of focus that parents are the most concerned about right now are children. And they are talking to me about critical race theory. And again, this is across the political aisle. I'm talking Democrats and Republicans. They're talking to me about critical race theory. They're talking to me about the overt sexualized agenda that's happening in the classrooms. Notoriously, you guys will recall that there was a school in New York City, $50,000 per year private school, that had a lesson on pornography. They brought out a woman from the outside. She spoke to the 16-year-olds about anal sex, about incestuous sex, talked to them about all about pornography, and did not have to get the parents' permission to do this because it's now wrapped up into sexual education. And you think, okay, that's bad enough with 16-year-olds, but it also happened amongst first graders. Similarly, in New York City, where they were showed a cartoon that talked to them about masturbation. And in these scenarios, this stuff, when it leaks out and hits the press and parents go, oh my God, how could this happen? And the schools privately email the parents and say, oh, we apologize, we should have given you some sort of a warning. But in reality, they're only apologizing because they got caught. I read this book, and I recommend that every parent in America read it. It is called Inside the American Education System, and it is written by Thomas Sowell, who you guys hear me talk about all the time. I recommend you read every Thomas Sowell book that you come across, but especially right now, this book. And what this book talks about is the fact that the entire education system, dating back to the 70s, is really designed to undermine the parents. It is designed to make parents believe that to make children believe that when they get home, their parents are backwards, their parents are bigoted, their parents are racist, their parents are from a time long ago, and that they are the woker, better form of their parents, and that their job is to destroy all of the values that their parents held. And it made me think of this cultural example that recently happened where Matt Damon spoke out about the fact that he said the F word, which used to be a real English word that meant a bundle of sticks, and then it got perverted. In the privacy of his home, he was talking to his kids and he used that word, not referring to another gay individual, but said the word he actually once said it in a movie, and his children freaked out and basically lectured him about how backwards and wrong it was. He doesn't understand that he's never allowed to say that word, even if he's talking about a topic. And he kind of said, and I learned my lesson and I apologized to my child. And I thought, okay, maybe he shouldn't be using that word, but also it's interesting to see that children are coming home and lecturing their parents, because after reading this book, I'm much more aware of why that may be. It's the school systems that taught children that they should be having sex. And there was this idea that all the kids were already having sex in high school, and that wasn't true. The majority of kids were graduating with their virginity. And now that is switched because they introduced sex ed. So the school has actually been sexualizing your children for a longer time than you realize. What we are seeing right now in America, and everyone's going, what the heck is happening, is late stage cancer. This cancer has been going on for a very long time. It's just at its final stages right now, and everybody's freaking out, going, how the heck are we right now in a society where pornography is being taught in the classrooms? Worse than that, you're having a school system, and I hear people talking to me about, well, they're gonna force mask my children. They're gonna essentially force us to vaccinate our children. All of these things, and I'm going, what is going on right now where parents are saying they don't know what to do in a circumstance in which their child is being mandated to do certain things that make the parents uncomfortable by the education system, that the parents are having to negotiate things with the teacher unions, that the parents are having to do things that make them uncomfortable, like make your child get vaccinated, and my child's gonna have to get vaccinated or he's not gonna be able to go back to university. Like, my child's gonna have to get vaccinated or else or wear a mask or they're not gonna let him back into school. Think about how damaging that thought process is, how wrong that thought structure is, right? I have to do this for my child, even though it makes me uncomfortable because blank. That is not the way a mother or a parent should ever think. If you are not comfortable to something being done to your child, you don't let it happen. It's not because, oh, well, then otherwise, they're not going to be allowed to school. Every single parent in America, I don't care what the scientific arguments are. I don't care what I don't care what a Harvard education paper, I don't care what the New York Times fact checker said. Every parent in America knows that masking children makes no sense. Call it a gut mama bear instinct. We know that children are the grimiest people in the entire world. They stick their hands down their pants, they touch their nose, they've got their snacks still on their hand, they're touching their faces, they're a little disgusting in the bathroom, and then they touch their faces, and then they're just gonna keep putting this cloth mask back on. We know that you don't need to be a scientist to know that there is no scientific argument that makes you think that masks are making your children healthier. We know this is not about health, okay? We know that there is no scientific argument to force vaccinating children when they have essentially a 0% chance of dying from COVID. In fact, I believe the number is that there are, and you can fact check me on this, I could be wrong, that there are something like 72 million children in the United States, of which 300 of 72 million have died of COVID-19. And those ones that died, by the way, don't you think, it's a healthy kid and got COVID and died? No, they had they had comorbidities like leukemia. Okay? They were counting that as a COVID death. If a child had leukemia, but they tested them and also realized they picked up the COVID-19 virus, that was counted as a COVID-19 child death. That's playing games. You know that's playing games. We know that child unfortunately died from leukemia, but it gives them a number. They could justify it. So they've got the big number 300, which means a 0% chance essentially. An essentially 0% chance, right? And yet they're fundamentally changing the way that your child is learning in school to be behind masks. Incredibly dehumanizing. You don't need Jen Psaki to tell you that a child that is in a room filled with adults that have masks is being delayed psychologically. You don't need that. It's your mother and your father instinct. Your mama bear instinct tells you that something is wrong there, okay? A child is not meant to see a person peer over them with a mask on them when they're in the crib. Your toddler is not meant to go to a place where everybody is masked and they're not seeing facial expressions. You know, I don't care what Dr. Fauci or the NHS or the CDC or the NIH or any other acronym tells you. You know it's wrong. You know it's harming your child because you know that. That's why. because it doesn't take a scientific argument to tell you that a child not seeing facial expressions is harmful to their psychological development. That a child looking around the room and not being able to perceive the other facial expressions in the room is harmful to their psychological development. You know that that is isolating, that it feels wrong, and yet you go on with it. You know that the teacher's telling your child that they can pick their gender is wrong, and yet you go along with it. You know that a child that is learning that there are 26, 28, 29 infinite genders, you know that's a lie. You know that's a lie. You know they're actively learning that in school, and yet you go on with it. Why? Oh, that's what the parents say to me. Because where else am I going to send my kid? Well, I mean, I have to send my kid to school, right? Even that was a part of the early stage of the cancer of this society. There was this sudden push to make women think that we had to work, and climb the corporate ladder. This was feminism, right? Women should work just as hard as men. We can be just like men. Defying our sociobiology that makes us desire to nurture. Oh, you're a stay-at-home mom? Oh my God, you're a stay-at-home mom? Oh gosh, man, she's not accomplished to be a stay-at-home mom. And who wants to be a stay-at-home mom? Denigrating stay-at-home moms was a part of a cultural cancer, a seed that was planted into your mind a long time ago, and you went along with it. We made fun of the people that were doing the right thing. In fact, I said to myself the other day, it is so weird that I grew up totally thinking, and I know you agree with me on this, that people that homeschool their kids are weird. Where did we learn that? Where did we pick up that little cultural factoid? Well, it came down intentionally from us. Intentionally. Early stage cancer. We're going to make the women think that staying at home is a failure. We are going to simultaneously make them think that they need to work and climb the corporate ladder. We're also going to we're going to denigrate kids that are homeschooled. We're going to make them think that those are the weird kids. Oh, he homeschools. You know what we did? We transferred over our power as mothers, as the nurturers in this society, to the state. The state is now the parent. You know that. You're fighting the teacher unions about your child. The teacher unions were deciding whether or not your child could learn last year. The teacher unions, not you, the parent, the teacher unions were deciding when they were going to come back to school. You transferred the power that comes with being a parent. You transferred it to the state and you didn't even know it happened. I'm guilty too, by the way. So don't think this is like me denigrating parents. We're all messed up here. We've been messed up because we have been psychologically transformed for decades to get to this late stage cancerous manifestation of what is happening today. I came across a parent that told me last night when I was speaking in St. Louis, that in their school, they are saying that if you don't get your child vaccinated and your child catches COVID, your child will have to go home and isolate, and those days will count as absences, right? So you know how it is, X amount of absences equals a failure. But if your child got vaccinated and then picks up COVID, they're still gonna have to go home and isolate, but they won't count as absences. It doesn't count because they did what the state wanted and got the vaccine. There's no medical argument to that. That is just the state deciding that they want your child to get vaccinated. And that state is pressuring you to do it. Even though that state is telling you that this vaccine has only been approved for emergency authorization as of today. Even though that same state has now issued a warning on the mRNA vaccines telling you that teenagers, especially males, are getting myocarditis that is linked to the vaccines. Heart inflammation, your heart, right? The most crucial organ you have, arguably. Heart inflammation, you have to run that risk. And if your child gets that heart inflammation, there's no recourse because you did it. In fact, they're gonna gaslight you after a while. I mean, we didn't force you to do it. Sure, we created all of these things that basically force you to do it, but we didn't force you to do it, right? You did it. You're the parent. Why would you do that? Why is your child? You should feel guilty about the fact that you even did it. We told you it was emergency use authorization, in which the manufacturers of the vaccine are removed from liability. You can't sue the manufacturers. You were the parent. And you know what? They'd be right. We are the parents. We are the parents, and suddenly we're acting like teenagers who are bending to peer pressure. We're bending to peer pressure because everybody else does it, right? Why do you even send your kid to university? I asked the other day, why do you even send your kid to university? Why do you send your kid to school? Theoretically, because your kids are getting smarter, right? That would be a theory, but you would be incorrect, actually. If you read this book, you would know that actually The generations of kids are getting now dumber and dumber and dumber. Literally, according to a standardized test perspective, the kids are the dumbest they've ever been and yet are receiving more degrees than they've ever received. Think about that. They are intentionally dumbing down your children. It is the reason they are teaching critical race theory. It is the reason they are saying that math is racist. You question me, you think that's a joke? Math is racist? Look up Bill Gates and Melinda Gates. Gosh, they seem to be behind everything, right? They are now funding, pouring in tons of money into what is called equitable math. They want this taught everywhere. Equitable math follows the thesis that getting the right answer, ready, is a form of white supremacy. So they are funding an effort right now to make it so that if your kid gets the wrong answer in a math class, they're still gonna get all the points. Because assuming that a child should get the right answer is white supremacy. That is being funded by Bill and Melinda Gates. How many of you guys at home watching this believe that Bill and Melinda Gates, who made their fortune off of Microsoft, don't believe in math? How many of you guys watching this believe that Bill and Melinda Gates, who made their fortune off Microsoft, have taught their children that math is racist? Bill and Melinda Gates know that your child needs to learn math. They don't want your child to learn math. These are the makers of the world, right? Bill and Melinda Gates know that your child does not need to go to university to be successful because Bill Gates didn't go to university. He doesn't have a degree and he became successful. In fact, the irony, talking about how we bend to peer pressure, is that everything in society tells us that if our kid does not go and get a university degree, they are a failure. If they don't sign up for a bunch of student loans and already owe the state before they even start their lives, they're a failure. When in fact, the reality of things tells us something different. Bill Gates, drop out. Jack Dorsey, drop out. Jeff Bezos, drop out. Okay? Mark Zuckerberg dropped out of Harvard. The people who created Google, the Google engine, dropped out of Stanford University. Every piece of evidence that we have tells us that our kids do not need more schooling to be successful. In fact, the evidence points to the contrary. The more and more schooling that they get, the dumber they get. The more they lesson in America already. Think about it, guys, slavery. What did it take to maintain slavery? The slave codes. Slaves were not allowed to learn how to read. Why? Because an educated mind cannot be enslaved. It's that simple. They knew that if slaves could learn how to read, the smarter slaves could understand things, could wake up to structures, then slaves would not be waking up every day and working for the government, the plantations, right, without asking questions. We know that the American government knows how slavery works. We know that their entire initiative right now is to make your kids stupid. They're replacing hard academics like engineering and mathematics with wokeisms, with classes on racism, with getting rid of Christopher Columbus, burn down the statues. They want them to be arrogant, giving them a ton of degrees, convinced that they know everything, when in all practicality, guaranteeing that they will be failures because you know you cannot make money just being a person that talks about genders. In fact, you can't even have a productive family if you are a person that buys into the model that you can pick your gender and you should mutilate your body to be a different gender than the one that you were born. They know this. That is the purpose. Unproductive families. Kids that know nothing, kids that cannot create, kids that cannot be successful in a free market society, kids that therefore have to beg the government for everything they have when they get older. Why are we allowing this to happen? Why do we keep putting our kids back on the bus and then venting about all the awful things they're learning in school when they get home? Why aren't we homeschooling? Why aren't we organizing? And please don't tell me, oh, it's for rich people. Please don't do that. Learn the history of this country. This country was built upon homeschooling. When the Pilgrims landed, it was the mothers who got together and said we should be teaching our children. I'll take Mondays, you take Tuesdays. I'll take Wednesdays, you take Thursdays. It was a mother's union. It is going to take right now a mother's union to protect our children. Our children are being preyed upon in the education system. And don't tell me it's because, oh, I just need my kids just gotta go to school. I always want my kid to be able to go to school. I want my kid to be able to go to school. Don't tell me that. What kind of, would you have that same reaction if you brought your child to a playground and you saw a pedophile and the pedophile tried to make a move on your child? Would you then keep bringing your child back to that playground and saying, I just want my kid to be able to play. I just want my kid to be able to play. I know he's there. It's bad. It's so bad. But when they get home, I'll keep talking to them about why pedophilia is wrong. I really want my kid to be able to play. No. You would become a mama bear. You would. You would go absolutely mad. You tear down the playground. You would get every email of every mother that lived within a 20-mile radius, and you'd be telling them, do not bring your child to that playground. What are we gonna do? Well, your child can play at my house. We're never going to that playground again until this problem is removed. And guess what happens automatically, right? If you withdraw your child from a school, they don't get the money. Public schools don't get the money. It's why they hate the concept of charter schools. The state cannot give them the dollar. Your child equals X amount of dollars, depending on which state you're in. Maybe $5,000. Your child equals dollars that is given to the public school education system, right? You withdraw your child, they cannot claim the money. They can't get the money. And if they cannot get the money, then all of a sudden the state has to come to you and ask you where you want that money to go. This is how charter schools work, right? Imagine what would happen right now in America if every mom decided to withdraw their child beginning on September 1st, maybe January 1st, give it time so you come up with a plan. January 1st of 2022, you withdrew your child from school and said, we're withholding our child until you come to our demands. One, my child is not going to be masked, okay? You wanna make your paycheck, teachers? No, it's not about the, it's the moms union now. Our child is withdrawing the funding until you guarantee that none of this poison is going to be taught, until you reintroduce math, until you get rid of Common Core math. Do you want to know how fast those teacher unions would get on their knees? Because they cease to exist unless we let them. And we have let them for far too long. Where is your mama bear instinct? That is what I'm asking you today. How are you letting these predators to keep coming at your child? How are you willing to compromise your child's health? How are you willing to allow your child to be injected with something that makes you uncomfortable because you just want them to be able to go to school? How are you able to allow your child to sit behind a filthy mask despite no scientific evidence that points to their benefit other than the dehumanization that will take place, like in China where everyone's behind a mask, where there is no difference, there's no individuality, where everyone is a slave to the government, because that's what the point of these masks are. How will you keep allowing this to take place? How have we keep allowing this? How have we kept allowing this to take place? I'm going to end this by telling you that I have become so passionate about this that I am going to start an initiative in a few months in Tennessee for moms to withdraw their children from school. That's it. We're the union now. It's up to us. We're the union now. I don't care what sacrifices we have to make. If I have to say I'll take kids, look up the concept of micro schools, look up the concept of homeschools, learn what you need to know, organize, be the mothers that I know you are. And fathers, I'm bringing up fathers too. But I'm talking about the biological predisposition that women have to nurture. It needs to be brought back. We have given too much power to the state for too long, and enough is finally enough. Organize and stand up to the CDC. Organize and stand up to these teacher unions. These are our children. Totalitarianism, dictatorships, communism, socialism, the way that these come into these countries is because slowly and slowly, more and more power is given to the state, and the people don't have the will to stand up and say enough. Right now, I've had enough. How about you? Thanks, guys, for listening.